The 2 a.m. call. James never had trouble sleeping. No nightmares, no insomnia, no fear of the dark. That night was supposed to be like every other night. He went to bed around 11:30 p.m., exhausted from a long day. Rain tapped gently against his bedroom window, and the quiet hum of his fan filled the room. His phone was charging on the bedside table, screen face down. He didn't bother switching it off. No one ever called him late anymore. By midnight, James was fast asleep. Then, his phone rang. Not loudly, not urgently, just enough to pull him out of a deep, comfortable sleep. He groaned, half awake, and turned toward the sound. That was when he saw the time. 2 a.m. Exactly. Not 1:59, not 2:01. 2 a.m. on the dot. His first thought was irritation. His second thought was confusion. Who calls at this hour? Still groggy, James reached for the phone. Then his heart stopped. The caller ID read, Mum. James sat up instantly, sleep forgotten. His fingers tightened around the phone. His mouth went dry. That couldn't be right. It wasn't right. Because James's mother had died 2 years ago. Cancer, slow, painful, final. He had watched the life leave her eyes in a hospital room that still haunted his dreams. He had buried her. He had mourned her. He had accepted, or at least tried to accept, that she was gone. So why was her name lighting up his phone? The phone kept ringing. Once, twice, 3 times. James didn't answer. He stared at the screen, his breathing shallow, his mind racing for logic. Maybe it was a glitch. Maybe someone had hacked his contacts. Maybe he was still dreaming. The call stopped. Silence returned to the room. James exhaled, forcing a shaky laugh. Get a grip, he muttered to himself. He placed the phone back on the table, turned his back to it, and closed his eyes. Then the phone buzzed again. A text message. James froze. Slowly, he turned and picked up the phone. The message was from the same contact. Mum, it read, answer or you'll regret it. His blood ran cold. This wasn't funny. This wasn't coincidence. His hands trembled as he typed. Who is this? The reply came instantly. You know who I am. James swallowed hard. No, he whispered. No, I don't. The phone began to ring again. Same contact. Same name. Mum. His chest felt tight, as if the air had thickened around him. Every instinct screamed at him not to answer, but curiosity, fear, and something deeper pulled at him. With shaking fingers, James pressed accept. At first there was only silence, then breathing, slow, soft, unnatural. Hello? James whispered. The voice that replied was faint, barely more than air. James. His heart nearly exploded. The voice sounded like his mother. Not exactly, but close enough to make his stomach twist. Who are you? He demanded, his voice cracking. The voice ignored the question. Check, it whispered. James clenched his jaw. Check what? A pause. Then the voice spoke again, slower this time. Your door. The call ended. The screen went black. James stared at the phone, his reflection faintly visible on the glass. His heart pounded so loudly he was sure the neighbors could hear it. No, he said firmly. I'm not doing this. He tried to laugh again, but it came out wrong. Still, against his will, his eyes drifted toward his bedroom door. It was closed, locked. He knew that for a fact. He always locked it. Then he heard it. Click. James's breath caught. The doorknob began to turn, slowly, painfully, slowly. The lock twisted on its own. James stumbled backward off the bed, his legs weak. The door creaked as it opened just an inch, enough for darkness to spill into the room like liquid. He screamed. He ran. James bolted into his closet, slamming the door shut and collapsing against the wall. His whole body shook. He covered his mouth to stop himself from making a sound. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. No footsteps, no whispers, no movement. Eventually, his breathing slowed. After what felt like hours, exhaustion overtook fear, and James must have passed out. When he woke up, sunlight streamed through the window. Morning. Everything looked normal. Too normal. James laughed shakily. A nightmare, he said aloud. Just a nightmare. He reached for his phone. No missed calls. No strange messages. No contact named Mum in his call log at 2 a.m. Nothing. Relief washed over him. Then he stood up. His bedroom door was open, wide open. James frowned. He knew he had closed it. He knew he had locked it. Slowly, he walked into the hallway. The front door of his apartment was also open, unlocked. Cold air drifted inside. That was when James noticed something on the floor near the doorway. A small, folded piece of paper. With trembling hands, he picked it up and unfolded it. Written in uneven, shaky handwriting were 5 words. "You shouldn't have answered." James dropped the note. Behind him, his phone buzzed. Once. He didn't turn around. He didn't need to, because on the dark screen, reflected faintly like a shadow, was a name he would never answer again. Mum. James stood frozen in his hallway, staring at the open front door. The folded note lay on the floor where it had slipped from his fingers. You shouldn't have answered. His heart hammered violently as his phone buzzed again in his hand. He didn't need to look. He already knew who it was. Still, against every instinct, James slowly lowered his eyes to the screen. No name this time, just a number. Unknown. The buzzing stopped. Then a text came in. You always read my messages. You just never answered in time. James's throat tightened. Memories rushed back. Nights when his phone rang while he was out with friends. Times he saw her name and thought, I'll call her back later. Later never came. Stop, he whispered. Please, just stop. Another message appeared. Do you know what it's like to die alone? James slid down against the wall, his legs giving out beneath him. Tears streamed down his face. I didn't know, he cried. I swear I didn't know it was that bad. The phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a message. It was a voice note. His hands shook so badly he almost dropped the phone. After a long pause, he pressed play. At first, there was only static. Then the sound of a heart monitor. Slow, beeping, familiar. James felt sick. A weak voice followed, hoarse, tired, barely holding on. James, his mother whispered. I kept calling you. His chest burned. I was scared, she continued. I didn't want to die without hearing your voice. The monitor flatlined. A long, steady tone filled the speaker. James screamed and threw the phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. The apartment fell silent. No buzzing, no whispers, no movement, just silence. For a long time, James didn't move. Eventually, he stood up and walked slowly to the front door. He closed it, locked it, then locked it again. That night, James didn't sleep. He sat on the edge of his bed until morning came. When sunlight finally filled the room, he felt foolish, embarrassed, empty. By afternoon, he convinced himself it had all been a breakdown. Grief, guilt, a mind punishing itself. He bought a new phone that evening, transferred his contacts. Everything felt normal again. Too normal. That night, James went to bed early. At exactly 1:59 a.m., he was still awake, watching the time change. 2 a.m. The new phone rang. James didn't reach for it. He didn't look at the screen. He lay perfectly still, staring at the ceiling, his heart racing. The ringing stopped. A moment later, the phone vibrated. A single message came through. From a number that was not saved. Thank you for finally listening. James closed his eyes. Tears slid silently into his ears. He never received another call after that night. Never another message. But every time the clock strikes 2 a.m., James wakes up. And no matter where he is, no matter how quiet the room is, he can still hear his phone ringing, even when it's not in his hands.